Hello, everyone, and welcome to another very special episode of the Property Trio. I'm joined by my two favourite interlocutors, Cate Bakos and David Johnston. I try and mix it up each time just to keep you guys guessing.
Doing well. So do I. Tried a bit. That's a new one, that's for sure.
And you sound like you're in the bathroom, but it's a vast improvement. Sorry to our listeners. We've been doing a little bit of testing, audio testing. Poor Mike. His old system makes him sound like Skeletor off Masters of the Universe, for anyone that remembers Castle Grayskull back in the 80s.
He does have the best system of the three of us, but for some reason it's playing up today.
Yeah, you and I have the good systems today.
It's let me down. I've got this very fancy overhead microphone, which probably sounds good if I'm up against it, but anyway, that doesn't work in a podcast format.
Depends which part of your body's up against it, I guess, Mike.
That's something that you'll only be able to check out if you go to YouTube and search the Property Trio for exclusive video versions of the podcast and me pressing my bits up against the microphone and maybe a couple of Easter eggs of Dave with his talcum powder.
Yeah, some people might suggest we talk out of other parts of our body at times, but it's generally our mouth.
We haven't even got a minute in yet. We're talking about talcum powder, bloody hell.
All right. Speaking of from different parts of the body, Dave, this is a special episode where we're focusing on your skill set, so there's plenty of opportunity for you to pick whichever orifice is appropriate. But let's get a little bit serious. To be a highly successful professional advisor requires you to be pretty emotionally intelligent. But what other specific skill sets do you need to be a strategic mortgage broker, or let's say a great strategic mortgage broker?
That's a great question, Mike. So
you wrote it.
No, I say that to you, Cate. I was setting up for that. And just for our listeners there, so today we're talking about what it takes to be a great strategic mortgage broker. So, look. First things first. It all starts with active listening, empathy, and caring. You need to listen with intent. And as the saying goes, you have two ears and one mouth, and we should strive to use them in that order. People really want to tell their stories, so we encourage our mortgage brokers and property planners to let them tell it. This not only helps you to understand them, but they feel good for having been heard, and it allows you to really narrow in on the best solutions relative to their situation. As I say to our team, it's actually a privilege to have someone share their goals and dreams and personal, information with you. It's not something that should be taken for granted. And there is so much we can learn from each and every client. And if you go in with that mindset, you're going to be ahead of the eight ball as a professional advisor or a strategic mortgage broker every time. People can be meeting with you or call up after becoming a client, and they might be under financial duress, personal stress, going through a divorce, have lost a loved one. You can be dealing with couples who are on a different wavelength, and you need to act as a conduit. You might have one partner who just doesn't want to work with a broker and doesn't want to be in the meeting. You can be working with tradies to CEOs, and ultimately you need to listen, have empathy, and care. We all know that sometimes people can hear, but they're not really listening. So one thing we focus on in training for up-and-coming or new brokers is to not get caught up in thinking about what you want to ask or say until the client has finished talking. It can often be the difference between ensuring that you are not misinterpreting what the client has said or wants. To our listeners, these might seem like basic life skills, but when you feel a little bit under pressure or you're still learning a lot of the nuances of your profession, some of these skills can go out the window, and we know that just in general day-to-day conversations they can. So, they're especially important in the first few years when you're learning all the technical skills it takes to become a broker. And finally, you need to ask lots of questions. So I've read research that shows that the most successful professional advisors ask 7 times more questions than the average, which sounds like a lot, doesn't it? We spend a lot of time reminding the team that asking questions sets them up for success with clients. And they need to remember people only know you care through your actions, Words are great, but it is your actions that show your true intent. So asking questions and listening are a great way to show you care. And let people communicate everything they want to share with you. Only after you've done all that, do you really have the right and the ability to map out a strategy, an effective mortgage strategy, and give people advice.
I love that, Dave, and I love how well you've sort of bedded that down with your team. And you're right; they do sound like fairly basic skills, but I learned a very important lesson by accident listening to a podcast when I was starting my podcast journey, and I always kind of started a little bit nervous and was thinking about the next question. So you can actually zone out of the answer, and this could be someone that you really admire and respect, and are really excited to have. But you're also thinking about your own performance and the flow of the interview. And I remember hearing a podcast; it was a business podcast, and the interviewee said something really provocative that demanded the interviewer sort of go, "Oh wow, like what makes you say that?" But they just went, "Yeah, cool. So anyway, like, what do you think about this?" And I'm like, no, you're not even listening. And, I was petrified that I was doing something like that myself. And, it's really important. People want to be listened to, but also how can you help them if you don't listen? Cate, I'm guessing
100%. That's a great analogy, Mike.
I'm guessing it's a big part of being a buyer's agent as well, right? Like you might sort of be able to answer the question with your strategic brain very quickly, but you need to give them space to sort of communicate what their hopes and dreams are, right?
You've absolutely nailed it. And sometimes, we're technical, so we have the answer. In most cases, we don't have to scratch our heads. I think what makes a really good advisor is knowing how to deliver the answer. You don't know how to deliver that if you haven't worked out that person's style of receiving news, particularly if it's tough news, or maybe their level of sophistication in our subject matter. I talk to very senior people, surgeons and high court judges and people that are super clever, but I can't just give them my clever short answer that's bubbling around in my head, because if their familiarity with the property industry and, it might be title disclosures or encumbrances or something technical, I'm not going to just throw that at them. You've got to work out how to deliver the news. But more importantly, I think Dave said a couple of things that really resonated with me. The first one was about being privileged to have someone trusting you enough, or taking that leap of faith and choosing to trust you when you haven't yet built trust with them. They're being vulnerable with you. They're sharing some really personal stuff, and you've got to treat that personal information, as he's just described. It's a privilege, and you've got to keep it really tight. It's obviously sensitive. Nobody's information can be splashed around. Even in the office, you keep things tight from some of your colleagues if you're talking about something sensitive. And you've got that opportunity to be different to other advisors. So as a trusted advisor with experience, you've got an opportunity to build a bond with that person, so that the trust isn't just there because they're vulnerable and they want to trust you. It's because they actually are choosing to trust you and they feel they can trust you. Because the more information you've got on hand, the better the service you can provide, because you're giving some really good advice. So asking a lot of questions when you're not quite sure. Sometimes I have to run a scenario past them and just say, have I got this right? Am I understanding it? And I think the best way to approach a meeting when you do know your stuff is sometimes just not to be scripted. Don't worry about the scripts and the dialogue. And for any clients, any listeners that have been clients or prospects of mine will be familiar with this. I'll often start my interview with, just tell me where you're up to. Tell me where we're at. What do you want to chat about? Because the minute you've got scripts and dialogues, you're putting people into, a bit of a cookie cut box, and you're trying to work through your agenda. And I always walk into a meeting thinking, I might not resolve this today, but I might get chapter 1 done today, and we might come back for chapter 2. And the book might be a 10-chapter book, and it might take 2 years to nut through it. And I think Dave would say the same thing, especially with finance. You get to meet awesome people who aren't quite ready. They're not in a position yet, whether it's financial or emotional or situational. They're not ready to make that move. But if you're building those chapters with them and you're their trusted person, well, when the book ends, they'll come back to you and get started.
And it just sort of strikes me as that all of those skill sets are sort of like the harder things for artificial intelligence to do. So if we don't want the robots to take over, then don't behave like them, right?
Totally.
Ask the questions and ask questions specific to their answers and listen, right? Like these are what make us human. So I love that.
Yeah. I think technically we have to have systems. Systems are great, tick a box, especially in a business like mine's and Dave's, where you've got critical outcomes and you've got very critical dates. Things have to get done and done properly and thoroughly, and risks mitigated within particular timeframes. But when it comes to people, I don't like having systems and processes. When I'm sitting in front of someone, I just want to understand fully whether I can help them, and if I can't, who else can help them, or if I can help them, how best can I help them, and how can they help themselves?
Yeah,
I love that.
It's the soft skills that make the difference and ultimately separate those who have, say, the equivalent technical knowledge. But the great thing about soft skills is they so often really boil down to listening and actually caring and then asking lots of questions, and everyone can control that. Yeah. And that's the thing to remember.
And do you know what's really special when it comes to, the emotional intelligence? It's sometimes working out and spotting the things that you can't get with questions. So the body language, I'm not suggesting that it's manipulative. You can see if someone's stressed or if someone's upset or if one person's disengaged.
Yeah.
And for someone who doesn't have that EQ, they won't spot it. They'll just keep going through their list of attributes.
Yeah, and it's why it's so important we train our team to make sure, or aim every time to meet with both pairs in a couple, both of them, so they can, you might not be dealing with the decision maker. You might only be hearing half the story, and if someone isn't sharing as much, you need to make sure you direct questions towards them so you understand what they're thinking and feeling as well.
Yeah.
All right, Dave. So once we've done all of our A-grade listening and we've understood Cate's question, where are they at? What are their personal drivers? And of course, you need to understand the specifics of their financial situation. But once you've got all those moving parts in place, what's the next step for an SMB or a strategic mortgage broker? Is that acronym already a thing, or can we make it take off?
It's a thing at Property Planning Australia. I don't know if it is in the regular world. We say SMBs. It is now. Yeah, look, it's only at that point in time, once you've gone through that process, that you can really then set a strategy and provide your advice. And look, one of the big problems with mortgage lending and mortgage brokers is so many of them focus too much on products and the rate. And it's what consumers are sort of trained to focus on as well. So this is why the ability to understand what we call mortgage strategy and how it applies to a client's situation to help them create wealth, protect their risk and execute whatever their property plans are is so important. So we've broken up that a customized mortgage strategy should include some or all of the following considerations, which I've covered on a few of our podcasts. So number one, you want to work out how you can maximize your current and future investment tax deductions. And if you're missing or leaving any on the table with your current structure, you want to have an effective money management system. You want to look at the various ways that you can manage your ongoing risk through your largest financial commitment in life, which is your mortgages and debt. There are a number of ways you can manage your risk, and it's not just fixing a loan. There are buffers, and there are all different things you can be doing. You also need to consider how you can hold property long term as they accumulate future property. And one of the major sort of strategies here is how to keep a stepping stone home so it can become an investment property when you upgrade. You also need to ascertain the pros and cons of different repayment strategies. There are various things to consider beyond just tax deductibility as to whether you go principal and interest or interest only, and why you should do that, which we've done an episode on. And then finally, how using offset accounts. Again, we've done an episode on the God's gift to lending offset accounts. how you can not only save you interest, but they can help with all the above strategies, such as preserving tax deductions, helping you hold property, reduce repayments, manage risk, and the list goes on. So, look, in order to tailor a strategy to the client's unique circumstances, this really means being advice-based, not transactional or product-driven, which a lot of the mortgage industry is. And, it includes being able to provide property education, mortgage education. You want to strive to be independent and unbiased and act in the best interests of the client. This is vital. And this is all best done leading into each property purchase, because you can only borrow once to purchase a property. And every day your structure and strategy is set up incorrectly after settlement costs you money. And we find almost everyone we meet with who owns multiple properties has at least one problem with and flaw with their mortgage strategy.
I love this, Dave, and especially your mention of education, because you have to educate your customers or your clients. It's a little bit like getting a prescription. You go to the chemist, you get your script. If you're not taking your meds properly, you're mixing them up or having them at the wrong time of day, it'll fall apart. And invariably, you put these things in place. But if people go treating their accounts the wrong way or making their own decisions and tweaking things, it will unravel everything that you've worked hard to do.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, just oversight here and oversight there, and all of a sudden there's a few really gaping holes in a mortgage strategy, and it's costing people money, and most people aren't aware that they could be putting them in place.
Yeah, and I know that your crew have always been so firm on the education. I think it's great.
It's a bit insidious, isn't it? Like you can have a major problem and not be aware that it's costing you future capacity or it's costing you money today. Yeah. It's just one of those things, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, Dave, once you've understood all the objectives and you've determined the best strategy, it sounds like that's now the simple part, right? Like you need to get them a loan, but you contend that there are industry skills that you need from that point on. And, as speaker one for the negative, I'm going to hand over to you to argue that it's not just, all right, go to a certain bank, get the loan approved and move on to the next client.
Yeah, there are a few technical skills, unfortunately, that people need to be an effective strategic mortgage broker. And, you can't just go from being a plumber to a strategic mortgage broker. So I'll cover a few of these. There are quite a few areas, really, that you need to be an expert at. And, so hopefully our listeners will appreciate taking a look under the bonnet to better understand what a strategic mortgage broker does. So the first is credit policy. So ultimately, understanding lender credit policy is a little bit like understanding the law. There are reams of policy explanations provided by each and every lender for you to review, read, understand, and interpret. And you must be aware of the differences between lenders and the different interpretations and areas of flexibility and loopholes to be able to take advantage of for your clients. Benefit, obviously subject to their affordability. This is critical for clients who have more complex situations, and who not all lenders will accept them as borrowers. So that makes it crucial to understand the intricacies of lender policies to provide lender recommendations and solutions that are in the best interests of the client. And there is a best interest duty that's now regulated into mortgage broking since the Royal Commission. So, look, ultimately all lenders have niche areas which they differentiate themselves in. The next technical area, and obviously we could chat about each of these, but is basically number crunching expertise. You really need to be a master of the dark art of making numbers work to your client's benefit so they can be approved for the loan amount that they can afford. Now, this gets quite tricky, and Cate, you would have experienced this back in your period as a mortgage broker. When clients have variable income such as bonuses, commissions, overtime, part-time, casual, self-employed, trust, companies, distributions, profits, multiple employers, depreciation, interest add-backs, rent. The list goes on, and lenders can exclude all of some of this income, 50% of it, various figures. And look, the surprising reality is I would say 9 out of 10 people have some level of complexity. So there is a fair bit of sort of work and thinking and matching up to lender policy required in almost all loans. And this takes a lot of skill. So like ultimately the interpretation of the client's numbers requires a solid mix of mathematics and then obviously being able to match it up to the written word of the policy of various lenders to find the right outcome. So being an expert in scenario calculations for purchases and refinancing is also vital. So a lot of time is spent by brokers and clients in this space working out different and optimal purchase scenarios. There's emails back and forth, looking at different LVRs, saving buffers, net monthly surpluses, estimated purchase prices. And again, this all really boils down to strong fundamental mathematical skills.
Let's just say you won the debate, Dave. All right, like you don't need to rub it in. But before you carry on, a bone to pick with you SMBs.
Yeah.
The Royal Commission has found that they need to legislate the fact that you guys need to do right by your customer. Is that a sort of a bit of a blight on the industry that requires legislation that you have a duty of care to provide the best level of service? I mean, what was sort of going wrong to get to that point?
Oh wow!
Look, that's a great question. I'm glad you said that. It's a real shame that is the layman's. That's what I'm calling you right now, Mike. Interpretation of the need to put in the best interest duty. But a number that I was going to share later, but I'll share it now, was there's the minuscule percentage of the complaints to the banking and finance sector ombudsman is from mortgage brokers. So in the last financial year, 55% of all the complaints to the Australian Financial Complaints Authority related to the banking and finance sector, because you've got share trading, you've got financial planning, etc. Of that 55%, have a guess how many were against mortgage brokers?
Honestly, not that many.
Yep. Pick a percentage.
10.
Okay. Mike?
4.
All right.
No, wait. If it's like Price is Right, I should do 9, and then if it's lower, I win.
You've won. Yes. But it's way lower than that. 0.1%.
Right.
0.1% were against mortgage brokers. Now, keep in mind, 72% of all loans in Australia are done by mortgage brokers nowadays. Okay? So, although on the surface people thought it was a witch hunt against mortgage brokers, and it did seem that Kenneth Hayne had a thing against mortgage brokers, if you go back and read all the material and everything was shared, almost like 98, 99% of the issues were to do with banks. Right. And lenders direct. And that reflects out in complaints. So obviously mortgage broking got slapped with the best interest duty, which I think is a good thing. And actually a point I was coming to in this question is about regulation. And I actually think so much of this regulation only applies to mortgage brokers. And although, lots of mortgage brokers, probably rightly so, aren't happy about all this extra paperwork we need to complete and provide, I think it is part of what differentiates the quality of mortgage brokers versus dealing with lenders and banks direct. So I'm glad you brought up that point, Mike.
Yeah, I've tried twice to sort of undermine how difficult it is, and then secondly, just to say that you're all dodgy, and you've had great answers each time. So well done.
Oh, thanks.
I think a lot of things have collectively changed or fine-tuned good behaviours in this sector. And clawback was probably one of the better introductions, so that we didn't have brokers churning new products with their clients just for the sake of getting an upfront commission. But, a quality strategic mortgage broker guards their clients like clients for life, and they want to be on the journey with them. But even those that aren't thinking with that mindset, clawback will certainly stop them from just putting them into a loan that pays well, because losing a client when it's not quite the right product or you're not providing the right care means that you did all of that work for nothing.
Yeah, 100%. And the reality is nearly all lenders pay a very similar amount of commission. So it's not much of an incentive. early days, I remember way back in the early days of mortgage, there was some non-conforming lenders pre the global financial crisis who would pay much larger upfront commissions.
Yeah.
But it's a really good point too, in terms of, a lot of people think, the trail commission, why they don't deserve it, etc. But it actually provides a huge incentive to look after the clients ongoing.
Yeah.
And
but if you've lost your trail, you've lost your client, which means that your loan book has diminished. And I think just take the trail out of it. No broker wants to have their patch of favourite clients depleting.
Yeah. Yeah. And it underpins being able to provide the service. And the reality is a mortgage is a product with an ongoing fee. And because our consumers don't need to pay a mortgage broker or a bank fees to get that service and advice, it's built into the interest rate. Okay. And so there's an ongoing fee being earned by the banks, and a small portion of that ongoing fee is actually paid to mortgage brokers. And obviously the banks are incentivized to keep looking after the clients, and so are mortgage brokers.
Yeah, that seems like a win-win. Now, Dave, there's a fair bit that rides on every loan application once it gets to that level, especially when someone's purchasing a property and could potentially lose a deposit. Can you tell us some of the risks and the skill sets required to make sure that those risks don't come to pass?
Yeah, look, this is all about the need for attention to detail, Mike. One small oversight can mean everyone's time is wasted if the loan was submitted to the wrong lender, or it shouldn't have been submitted at all. It can cause settlement to be missed, or even worse, a client has purchased and put down a deposit when the borrower can't even qualify for a loan. So, one small mistake of your interpretation of the lender policy and the client's income or their employment situation is all it takes for this to happen. So you've got to have great attention to detail, and there's lots of little bits and pieces that you need to understand and be across lots of numbers, lots of information. And then the same goes with loan documents. We have our staff check every set of loan documents. There's a process to follow to do that. If there's one small error that's missed, and banks do make mistakes on loan documents, that can put pressure on settlement. Everyone wants to move into their new home on time. They don't want to have to wait an extra few days and
pay penalties,
live in a hotel. So, there are key timelines. You've got to be comfortable working to regular, constant, and many deadlines, ongoing all the time. You need timely pre-approval so someone's confident to go to auction. You need to meet the finance clause for unconditional approval. You need to make sure you hit your settlement dates, which is the biggest date that needs to be hit. With off-the-plan purchases, often you only get 2 weeks to turn around everything once the property is finished. So lacking that attention to detail can be a real killer as a strategic mortgage broker. And it impacts people. Again, you've got to remember there's humans on the end of all of these things, and that's critical as an advisor, particularly as a strategic mortgage broker. People aren't able to then move into that home. They're paying penalty fees, or at worst, they've got a termination of a contract and losing a deposit.
Yeah. And it's interesting because when this stuff goes wrong, it impacts the whole team, because it becomes a festering inferno, and everything else that was meant to happen that day is put to one side, and everyone has to pitch in to deal with the inferno. It's a nightmare. I love that you have your team cross-checking docs and having all of those systems. It's amazing.
Yeah, you need to be anal with these things, and as you know, Cate, like something goes wrong, the broker, the people in the team have to drop everything, and you thought you had your day planned, and it's shot to pieces.
Yeah.
Dave, a lot of what you've sort of gone through today, when you tie it all together, it adds up to service, right? From active listening and asking the right questions, obviously being really great technically at what you do, but great service is an easy thing to say. But it's one of those things that everyone sort of says, oh, we've got the best service, but when you actually go out there into the world, it's not often backed up. It's very hard to deliver. Is that sort of a good way to wrap a bow around it? Like, apart from the technical expertise, it's just you've got to apply that knowledge to a premium service?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, people talk about great service, but most people don't really understand what it takes to provide it. and it takes huge commitment. You need to, like, it ties everything we've covered together today. You need to do all those things well. You need to be resilient, have the ability to handle stressful situations. You need to be able to move through lots of different tasks in a day. You need to be able to manage a lot of things at once. I mean, the best brokers will have 20, 30, 40, 50 or more files on the go at any given time. Each mortgage application is a project, so you have to have project management skills and there are many stakeholders to manage. You've got to be highly responsive to challenges from lenders and clients, as Cate just talked about, as they arise and totally disrupt your day. You've got to be decisive. You've got to be able to respond quickly to challenges that arise and take rapid action. You've got to have the ability to influence stakeholders. You've got to have negotiation skills, especially with lenders. You've got to have the ability to be assertive while maintaining professionalism and courtesy. You've got to be willing to go above and beyond to get the best solution for a client. And ultimately, you've got to have the maturity to take responsibility for resolving each and every situation if needed. That might be one of the hardest things for people to actually step up and be a successful mortgage broker. So, look, ultimately, if you boil it all down, you want to be giving your clients peace of mind, because often they're going through one of the most stressful times of their lives. I mean, our job is to ensure they feel comfortable and at ease from go to woe during an application. And in an ideal world, they get great results. But if something does go wrong, they need to know that you will fix it as quickly as possible. And often I remind our team of something that I read when I was a young broker, and that was that the best referrers are often those who had something actually go wrong, but you're able to fix it for them. So you need to actually see those situations as an opportunity to shine and, actually show your true skills. People have a really smooth process, often won't actually realize what you're doing and how much you can help them in a tough situation as well. So it's an opportunity to create a raving fan, because ultimately your bread and butter is repeat business from clients and referrals. And that is where getting new business can become almost easy if you're able to master all the areas that I just touched on, or we've covered in the whole episode. Yeah.
That's a good point, because I suppose you're not going to get paid more for fixing an issue that's stumbling at the final hurdle. But if you get onto that straight away, then you're going to have a client that just appreciates that you've got their back. And if anyone asks, who should I use, there's not going to be anyone else. I love how that leads into the final question. Relationship building is obviously important to any professional services business, and we all need to create a team and some partnerships. So what do those partnerships look like for strategic mortgage brokers or SMBs like you, Dave? And how do they all kind of work in concert to get this client outcome that makes them a raving fan?
Yeah, look, the best strategic mortgage brokers and the best ones in our team, will have the best relationships. Absolutely. And, they span the gamut of, firstly, obviously your clients. And, that includes being proactive in contacting your clients on a regular basis, whether it's to check in on changes in plans, review their mortgage strategy, existing loans, improving rates. We have people dedicated to just trying to renegotiate our clients' rates every year. They need to be approachable and available for clients. So the relationships with clients, obviously your own support and admin staff and your managers or business owners as well. It's really important that even if they're not the direct manager or report for their staff, they do need to be able to mentor them, guide them, problem solve with them, pat them on the back, support them when they make mistakes, and build strong relationships with them along with their managers and the business owners. They need to cultivate strong relationships inside the lenders. One little thing I used to always do and encourage our team to do is if someone does something well at a lender, pat them on the back. Tell them what a great job. They're getting plenty of brokers complaining to them. So tell them when they do things well, and if they've got a boss or someone, email the boss and tell them as well. build rapport. And then when you get their private direct numbers, which they try not to give out, put them in the CRM. so you can call them up when you need help and need to pull favors to get things done for your clients. Like that will overcome so many difficult situations just because you've got relationships in with the lenders. So, that's a big one. Obviously, you want to have referral partners. The key here is finding people who align with your values and can be trusted to provide the client with the same level of care and quality service. Obviously, Cate and I refer to each other.
I was just going to say that's how the three of us got to know each other.
Yeah,
we were referral partners.
Yeah, 100%. So, we don't pay any of our referrers. So people only refer to us because they're happy with what we do. And the same goes, we don't ask for anyone to pay us for who we refer to. Look, so there's some of the relationships that are really important as a strategic mortgage broker.
I love that. Now, I think that's a pretty good wrap-up of what it's like to be an SMB. And I'm sure, I suppose the motivation for this episode is making sure our listeners can understand whether they're getting that level of service or whether they need their mortgage broker to work a little bit harder or perhaps move along to a different one. And we haven't even sort of touched on the skills needed to run a business as in the mortgage broking space. But time is not our
really.
Well, yeah, exactly. Time's not our friend, but I want to go to Cate with your gold nuggets from today's episode.
Now it's time for us to go mining for our gold nugget property tip of the day.
So when I was a mortgage broker, I had this fantastic little saying, and I've never forgotten it. If you win them on rate, you'll lose them on rate. And I now say that to clients. If you're searching for just rate, you'll only be happy for a moment and then you'll be looking for something else. And I guess if we've got any prospective mortgage brokers or early starter mortgage brokers listening to the show, I absolutely stand by that phrase. You've got to be so much more than the cheapest rate.
I love that. And that applies to most businesses, right?
It does.
Yeah, 100%. Look, it's Dave? A great one. It's interesting. Cate said that. I was going to go with about rates as well. No, but it's like I just like our listeners to think about how often I've mentioned interest rates or talked about interest rates in this episode. Basically zero. Okay, so you, the listener, know that 4% is lower than 4.01%. It's not about rates. It's about everything else the strategic mortgage broker provides, and then matching that to the best loan lender product and rate that suits your situation, because that's the easiest thing to understand. That's not what differentiates who you work with.
It's choice and flexibility, isn't it? Because there's no good getting a $59 Jetstar seat on a plane and then something changes with your trip and you've got to make some alterations to your itinerary and suddenly it's $600 to get to the right place in the right seat. What a nightmare. Yeah.
And you're bleeding money in other areas that you didn't realise,
Yeah.
It's a good point, Cate, although I'm about to go to the airport and I'm probably going to fly Jetstar, so if you jinxed it, expect some a very flagrant voicemail message. Look, my 2 cents is that in the past I've actually witnessed on a live Zoom and a mortgage broker and an accountant go through the profit and loss of our business and argue, what can be included, what can be excluded, what's an add back. And the first time I saw that, I'm like, whoa, this is not what like Aussie John Simons used to talk about. He just said, we'll save you. And, like that, I also found out that they were sort of partly owned by the Commonwealth Bank, and it just kind of made me think, I don't understand this stuff. But when I saw that, I'm like, oh, okay, not all mortgage brokers are the same. That was a real kind of watershed moment for me. So I would encourage anyone that was as naive as I was, and perhaps in some of the questions where I'm like, Dave, surely it's pretty easy, you just get them a loan, that it's not easy, and a good mortgage broker is worth their weight in gold.
It's a really good example, Mike. I mean, it's one of the differentiators, actually, being able to read complex financials. A lot of mortgage brokers can't do that. And you've seen that and the difference that makes. I mean, that can take just a half a day just reviewing someone's, financials, but often, I guess the ideal clients, they've got greater wealth, larger loans and debts, are self-employed. So it's a really good analogy, and you need to be able to really dig into the depths of P&Ls and balance sheets and be able to pull out the right information. It's not easy.
Well, thanks to the both of you, and especially you, Dave, for sharing your expertise on your special subject today. If this episode was of value to you, and you think it could be of value to someone else that's looking for a mortgage broker, please send that along. Like, comment, and subscribe, all the things you're supposed to say. YouTube as well, check that out. And we've got some great episodes in the works in the lead up to Christmas, and of course 2024 we'll all be back. We've got some great listener questions. Also a reminder, if you've got a question, feel free to chuck them through as well. Until then, I'll see you next week, guys.
We'll see you next week. We'll have our predictions coming up soon, and also a recap of our predictions for 2023. What did we get right?
Oh, that's great, because I didn't make one. So you guys are going to look terrible, hopefully, and I'll just sort of slide in.
Pressure's on you next.
I look forward to it. I'll see you boys in person.
Have a great week. Yeah. Look forward to catching up.
See
you guys.
See you.